Total Film ran down the 200 greatest movie performances of all time, and we're going to go through the top 20.
Oh, God, I thought you were going to say 200, man. We'll be here till next week. I got a lot of work to do at work, man. I can't just be...
All right, so will Children of the Corn make the list? I don't know.
If it doesn't, I'm writing them a nasty letter. That's all I'm saying.
Number 20 in the greatest movie performances of all time, they give to Bette Davis in All About Eve.
Okay, I'm not going to argue with that.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay, so far so good. All right,
nice.
All right. Number 19, they give to Peter O'Toole in Lawrence of Arabia.
That deserves to be there. I'm not. Now I'm just really curious to see what. God, now you're going to make me go look this list up later.
Another great classic male performance at number 18, Hilary Swank in Boys Don't Cry.
I would leave that lower.
I would put it lower, but it definitely deserves to be on there. It is
It's
a mesmerizing performance. I mean,
it's good, but I would put it lower.
Number 17, Sylvester Stallone as Rocky.
No.
That is, I don't know. No, I'm not saying. I don't know about. It is a great. The first one.
I mean,
I
love that movie. I love that movie more than most people do. I mean, most people throw that movie off to as it's like it's chum or something, you know.
Yeah, but I think he gives a performance, and there's a scene in there with Mickey that this is the one time. I mean, I like Stallone. He's great, and I like him more as I've gotten older. I went through a phase where I thought a lot of the stuff he did was junk, but he gives that speech he gives to Mickey. When he says, "I never had a prime," you did. Everyone, I never had it. Is such a moving, emotional scene.
That's his. I could have been a contender.
Yeah, and that's a great scene.
And his scenes with Talia Shire are amazing.
Yeah,
too, so,
I mean, first one we forget before he fights the Russian, before he fights the first one has so much heart and everything.
It does, and it's gritty. Too.
It is gritty, yeah.
It is gritty. You know, it's really
I think he's great. I think because he wrote it too, he created one of the great classic characters.
It is a great character. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah, he definitely belongs on the list. I mean, we can argue back and forth about it.
Yeah, let's go.
Number 16, they put Jodie Foster in The Accused.
It's a daring performance, and if you think about what she had to go through to film the rape scene in that movie, I mean, which is a great scene.
It is a great scene and everything. But aren't you disturbed right now? Two of the female performances are rape victims.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. It's just an observation.
No, that's a fair observation.
Yeah, it is.
Number 15, Tom Cruise in Magnolia.
Why not the whole cast of Magnolia? When talking about it.
It's weird because our then we're getting into supporting performances. It gets a little weird, are we gonna put supporting performances up there with lead performances? It gets very strange. You've got
no, of course.
Them.
No, I don't think you do. I mean, I think if you fully embody a part and you make it kind of an iconic part, it doesn't matter the size.
It's a fantastic performance, no question about it. But I
just don't know if it deserves. I don't know if I put it up
really
to 15.
In that movie, Philip Seymour Hoffman is just as great in that movie. So I mean, it's like, okay, go on.
Number 14, Jimmy Stewart in Vertigo.
I'm not going to argue with that at all. I mean,
yeah.
Number 13.
Oh God.
My Cocaine.
Which
My Cocaine.
My Cocaine. And Get Carter.
Nah.
I don't know. I don't know. It's a great. I wouldn't put it so hard. I mean, it's a great movie and everything. I don't know if that's. I would put it. I mean, you're going to put that ahead of Lawrence?
Well, would you put it ahead of any of it? Would you put it ahead of any of Mike Cocaine's other performances?
I don't know. I like Zulu an awful lot. I like The Man Who Would Be King an awful lot too.
I'm a big fan of Sleuth.
Sleuth. I mean, the original.
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure.
No Death Trap?
Death Trap 2, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, but I mean, I love Get Carter, don't get me wrong, but I mean, there are other pieces, we forget, even though he is the very definition of a working actor, there are a lot of other great roles there. I mean...
Yeah. Number 12, this would absolutely be on my list. This would probably be in my top 5. Gene Hackman in The Conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Definitely.
sure. No question about it.
Number 11, Meryl Streep in Sophie's Choice.
I would agree with that.
This is interesting. Number 10, Liam Neeson in Schindler's List.
I love him in that, and that might make it onto the top 200, but not that high.
He said, this writer says, given the emotive subject material, it requires a firm hand to keep things from slipping into melodrama, but it's a task that Neeson shoulders manfully, providing the film with its moral core without any missteps into unqualified sainthood.
Well, I think that there are missteps in that movie, and they appear in the movie's last 20 minutes. So.
Number 9, Paul Newman in The Hustler.
Yeah.
Well, knowing that they're not going to put 2 Paul Newman performances in the top 10, Paul Newman's greatest performance is in The Verdict, I think.
I think so too. I love The Verdict. Number 8, Jane Fonda in Clute.
Another very good performance, but I wouldn't put it that high.
It might be probably one of my favorite Jane Fonda performances, but I definitely wouldn't put it that high. I mean,
I was having a conversation about Jane Fonda the other day during an interview about
maybe Monster-in-Law, but no.
Number 7, Denzel Washington and Malcolm X.
It's a great performance. I don't know if I'd put it that high up there.
It's a great role, but I've never been a huge Denzel Washington fan because I don't like those actors that I feel are picking from. I'm not. And let me just say, I'm not a big fan of those actors that I feel are picking from a bag of tricks that they have that they're using over and over again. And it's a great role, but I don't necessarily think it's the greatest, one of the top 10 performances of all time.
It's good. I like their other Washington performances that I like just as much, like He Got Game or American Gangster, or even I liked him in Safe House or something. But I think my thing with Malcolm X, I haven't seen Malcolm X since it came out, so I'd have to go back and watch it.
I've been so wanting to get the Blu-ray. It's actually, I love Spike Lee, and it's a movie. It's a movie I really like, and I don't know how that part can be played any better.
I don't either.
He was the right guy. He was the right guy for the role
at
that time. The problem with that is that I don't think that that's such a. I think that that's a movie that gets better in its second hour, but in its first hour, it's not so strong.
Yeah. Well, whenever I think of Malcolm X, I always think about the brouhaha that Pacino won his first Oscar and beat out Denzel. Because that's the year he won for Sin of a Woman, and everybody was like, "Really, you're not going to give it to Denzel? You're going to give it to Pacino for that movie?"
Right.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
But you know what?
Well,
Pacino had been making movies for 25 years without a win, so it's all right.
Yeah, remember Washington did get a supporting for Glory, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Number 6, no argument here. Marlon Brando on the waterfront. If any performance changed the history of American performance, that was it.
I would agree. Although I personally would pick his performance in Streetcar Named Desire, but the only difference is that he had performed Streetcar Named Desire on stage many times before, and so.
Emily Watson in Breaking the Waves at number 5.
Wow, now that's amazing. That is my favorite performance, my favorite film performance of all time.
Really?
Number one.
I mean, I love her, and I
number
love
one
her
film
in that movie.
performance.
But I don't know if I put it that high up. And I love Emily Watson, but I don't know if I put it that high up. But it's a great performance.
I think it's the greatest performance that's ever been put on film.
Now we're up to number 4, and this is definitely in my top 5 as well. So I'm in agreement about this particular performance. It's Al Pacino in The Godfather Part 2.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, God, yes. I mean...
See, I think The Godfather Part 2 and Dog Day Afternoon are his 2 greatest performances.
I would say I think Dog Day Afternoon is his best performance. I just watched Dog Day Afternoon the other day, and I just cannot believe how great he is in that movie. It's ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, that must have just... You can just feel how that performance just sat him.
Yeah.
Number 3. This high up, this performance. Daniel Day-Lewis in There Will Be Blood.
I have no beef with that. I would put it behind, though, Michael. Michael Corleone is just one of the all-time greatest, the greatest character in American fiction and film. I mean...
It's difficult, though. I mean... is it any more or less great than Daniel Day-Lewis in My Left Foot? I mean, gosh.
Well, I mean, God, I mean, he is great in that movie, no question about it. And I remember watching that movie for the first time and not being so impressed. I was sort of irritated by the fact that he kind of stole his vocal cadence from John Huston.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, there is some of that. Yeah, without a doubt.
And they were of course screening Treasure
especially when he
Madre
refers
quite about it.
Especially when he refers to Paul Dano as Mr. Getz. I think that was just too far.
But I mean, of course, they were screening Treasure Sierra Madre quite a bit during the filming of that movie, and so you have to feel like he might have taken some kind of some influence from that thing.
As all actors do, yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's a difficult role to play. I mean, that is a difficult role to play. To play a role in which someone has no connection to anyone whatsoever, that really doesn't have any love for anybody.
And it's so different from the movie he was in before that, The Ballad of Jack and Rose. I mean, it's such a wildly different. And that's just about all of the parts he plays. You can never say he's playing. I know that there are people who say that there's something between that and Bill the Butcher and Gangs of New York, but not really. I mean, every part that he plays is really wildly different.
It's very distinctive, and you can tell he lives inside of it.
Oh, yeah.
When you compare that performance to Age of Innocence, for instance.
Yeah.
You can't believe it's the same guy.
Oh, I have a very hard time with that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
that's a meaty role.
I mean, in a good way.
That's a meaty role. And number 2 is a role that required an actor to become meaty, which is Robert De Niro in Raging Bull.
Right.
Of course.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
All right, what's number 1? What's number 1? Just tell us what number 1.
It's definitely Robert De Niro's greatest moment.
I don't think it was. You know what? I'm in the minority that I think Raging Bull is an overrated movie.
Really?
And I think his work in Taxi Driver is far superior to Raging Bull.
I think Taxi Driver, and I think he also does a great job as the young Vito Corleone. I mean,
yeah.
I'm with them. I'm going with Raging Bull.
Number 1, the movie and the performance that made me fall in love with movies and performances. It's Jack Nicholson in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Okay, I'm not gonna.
I don't have any problem with that.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, I might not put it at number one, but that's splitting hairs.
I mean,
it's like it would be in the top 5 for sure.
What other Nicholson performances are on that list besides that one?
I'm sure there are lots.
Oh, okay.
They're 200 pages. There's not like a list.
Okay, no, we're not doing that. No.
It's interesting though because this. I mean, God, I love him in that movie, and obviously I love the movie.
Right.
Kind of changed my life in a way, but it's never been on my top 5 in terms of performances, and that's probably very unfair of me. And Nicholson even said this, that his biggest obstacle with One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest was the fact that people thought that he was perfect for it, that he could kind of do it in his sleep. And he said that kind of discounts all the immense work that I put into that movie to get it right. Yeah.
I never felt that, I mean, he might have been perfect for it, but I never felt that it was a role that he didn't have to work at. I mean, I feel like it's a lot like I feel about Al Pacino and Dog Day Afternoon, which actually came in the same year, which was it was a role that you could feel it absolutely took everything out of him.
Mhm.
Just everything.
And what a piece. I mean, it's just incredible. I mean, both it's very kind of delicate. Is he dangerous? Is he fun-loving? Does he have just a wild streak? What is he a Jesus figure? There's lots of traps that you can fall into.
Yeah, is he a criminal? Is he not a criminal? Is he?
Yeah.
Even the characters that are with him. I mean, there's even that great scene where he plays opposite the guy who's the caretaker of the entire hospital, who was a non-actor, by the way. And that scene.
Well, are you talking about the opening scene?
Yeah, the opening scene where he's
amazing.
giving the interview and everything.
Some of the best acting I've ever seen, and you could tell that was so off the cuff. Like Nicholson was saying, they were probably saying, Nicholson, just do some surprising things, try to surprise. And the guy was. And the doctor, who was really the doctor there, he was just incredible. I actually wrote that doctor because we did a Cuckoo's Nest show years ago, and I wrote to him, and he's retired in Washington. He's still living, as far as I know, or he was a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that doctor is great in that scene too.
Absolutely great.
His only scene in that movie, and it's really a strong scene.
There's another scene that he's in actually, and it's odd because I don't know if this was a deleted scene and they put it back in to fill the time when it aired on TV, but the first time I watched the movie was on TV. And I'm sure because of ratings and that kind of stuff, they did that with Halloween. They filmed a lot of extra footage that they just put in the TV version to fill the time for all the stuff they cut out. But there's a scene where he's sitting around with the other doctors, and they're talking about whether or not to keep McMurphy in the hospital.
No, that's in the original. I saw it in the theater when I was a kid. And that's in the original movie. So yes, he is in 2 scenes, and he's also in the scene where they discover Billy Bibbit. At the end of the movie. So
it's an incredible, and he's actually, he was the one that accommodated that production at that real hospital amongst those real patients. He was the kind of the saving grace of that hospital, and that movie is so gorgeous and graceful because just the experience of being in that real life place among all, and that they're all living there.
Yeah,
it infuses that movie. Oh.
You can feel the ghost walking around in that hospital. That is not a set.
That is the most transcendental kind of movie I've ever seen. It's an amazing movie for me. And a few years ago, there was an article there, shut down the hospital, and it was just in terrible shape. They had like tissue samples and all this kind of stuff of patients from decades earlier that were unlabeled and remains of patients that were not. It was just a terrible sanitary disaster, that place.
Is that Dean R. Brooks as Dr. Spivey? Dean R. Brooks, right.
Yeah.
He's so great in that movie. I mean, it's just like a great little supporting performance by a non-actor. Unbelievable.
Yeah. And I'd written the film commission in Oregon around there to try to find anyone that was related to the production. I remember.
Uh-huh.
And that's how they. I've actually got the email here. Gosh, I haven't seen it in forever. January 14th, 2008. Dean is retired. Did not renew his license in 2004. He pretty much is keeping a low profile since he is 91 years old. Last I heard, he was living out his days at his home in Washington. So you may want to contact him there. And then they gave me his information.
By the way, okay, so if you guys had one performance that was not mentioned in that top 20, forget about the other 180 performances. They might have mentioned it in those 180. But if there was one performance that you want to be in that top 20, what would it be?
Robert.
I have mine. I'll give you.
I
have mine.
Hang on. Jerry just gave us an answer.
Yeah, Robert Mitchum, Out of the Past. I would put in there.
That's a good one. I would put in another non-actor performance. I would put in Dexter Gordon in Round Midnight.
That's a really good one.
Well, I already revealed mine, which is Pacino in Dog Day.
Okay.
That's one of my all-time favorites.
You would put in all the Pacino performances all in the top 20. It'd be nothing but Pacino in the top 20.
No, that is so not true. And Pacino's only in a couple of my favorite movies, and the performances follow suit. And the only two Pacino performances that would be in my top 20 would be those two. It would be Godfather 2 and Dog Day Afternoon.
Well,
I think he's overrated in Serpico. I think there are a couple of performances of his that I obviously find downright weak. So I'm not like a blind Pacino loyalist.
I know.
He's just the most passionate, interesting actor alive for me.
Well, you see what I'm saying though when we're looking at that top 20 and everything. You see what I'm saying with the one odd man out there is Tom Cruise in Magnolia because it's a supporting performance, and it's very difficult to measure a supporting performance against a lead performance. It's like it seems unfair, So it's like, the Magnolia is not about Tom Cruise. So it's like, in fact, there's no lead performance in Magnolia. So it's like, I don't know. It just seems weird to have him in the top 20.
And I think supporting performance can be just as great as lead performances.
True. Okay, so name a supporting performance that you would put in the top 20.
You would ask that, and now I can't think of it. I'll think about that. And I'll come back with an answer the next show.